Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Kaue Fernandes versus Mohammad Yahya. My prediction for the fight is Fernandes wins. I'm having a hard time going with a method of victory, so I'll play it safe and go with a decision. But there's nothing really too safe about that. I think Fernandez is the better all around fighter. It wouldn't surprise me if he won by knockout, especially early, or by submission a little later. And that's just based on the losses of Mohammad Yahya, which I'll get to in a minute. As for the bets, I haven't bet on Kaue Fernandez, even though I really trust him to win, because he's the few things he's got going against him are experience, not by much, but he's still an inexperienced fighter, and I can't say cardio, but potentially cardio, and that's just looking at the few losses of Fernandez, and really just one of them. But Fernandez is my pick. I do trust he's better technically than Mohammad Yahya, the much sharper striker, and on the ground, the much sharper submission artist. But he can concede bottom position, or top position, I should say, a little too easily. And at least the one fight where he did end up winning by armbar in round two, he seemed a little too happy to let the guy on top of him. I think he knew he had an advantage there, but it's not something you can trust because at the UFC level, anybody's good enough to stuff your guard with his fucking blue belt or whatever and win by being on top. And Yaya, even though he doesn't always get to win that way, he has won that way. Also, I should say Yaya has gone 5 rounds twice. This is a 3 round fight, so I don't know why the fuck I'm bringing it up. But I'm just speaking to his cardio, saying he didn't collapse in 5 rounds, even though one of them was him cruising to victory. But the other one was a real war. You could argue he lost the fight, and I wouldn't argue with you. But he definitely showed a lot of good traits in that fight, cardio being one of them. Not that he was flying around like Frankie Edgar in the end, but whatever. Still, though, Kaue Fernandez, I think, would have to really collapse to lose to Muhammad Yahya. I think technically he's sharper, and that wrestling battle that I'm harping on, he should win that wrestling battle. Kaue Fernandez is the better, stronger athlete. I think he's the faster guy everywhere, and I think he would bully around Yahya in tight. But, of course, throwing legs out there and whatever, he can get taken down. I've seen every one of his takedowns, every one of his opponent's takedowns that I could find. And look, they're all better and more imposing than Muhammad Yahya, especially Marchiakazi. That's like a fight that I don't even consider for this, even though it's one of Kaue Fernandez's 2 losses. But Kaue, despite being taken down by these better guys and whatever, he's still a guy that likes being on his back. He's got something to offer there, and if he gets caught up in trying to find it, he could lose rounds. And I'm harping on that because that's Yaya's only path to victory. I'd be very surprised if Yaya knocked Fernandez out, and I'd be very surprised if he submitted him. The one guy who's been finished is Yaya. He was knocked out in a minute. It may not have been the best stoppage, but he was dropped anyway, and he was hurt, and he was submitted twice. These are fights that I have seen, and I went over my notes, but I wasn't able to find them this time around. So if you know where I can find his submission losses, let me know. But he lost twice at the end of round 2 by submission. One a Darce, an Anaconda maybe, I don't know, and the other a rear naked choke. Fatigue was definitely a part of it, but I have to say in his last victory, that grueling fight, the 5-rounder, he was in a deep rear naked choke and also in a deep guillotine at the end of rounds 2 and 3 with seconds left. And he was fighting out of those chokes for like a minute each time. And he really impressed me, even though, again, you could argue he lost the fight. But that's beside the point. Still, I'm just saying it's not something you can count on that he'll be submitted and he'll fatigue and get overwhelmed. But I do think Kaue Fernandez is the better overall fighter. And if he's winning the fight, there's a good chance he can fatigue Muhammad Yahya and submit him. As good of a chance as there is that he can knock him out. Look at Kaue Fernandez's last 2 victories. 1-minute knockouts both times. Body shot and a head shot with a beautiful tight left head kick. In tight in the middle of the pocket. He's definitely the more dangerous guy, and he should win this fight. So Kaue Fernandes is the pick by whatever the fuck I said. I think I went with decision. I don't know. But I'm not going to bet on him. If one of the props jumps out, especially knockout early, submission a little later, I'll bet on that. But I do think decision would be most likely. And for Yahya, I'll probably bet on him winning by decision anyway. I don't even think it's fucking possible, and I'm still going to bet on it because it's his only path to victory. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos. Bien.